by now, you have probably seen this video of me snotting and crying over this book. But I have finally gotten myself together enough to come and give you a full review of Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. Welcome back to Shelby in the Book Club. I am an advocate for reading outside of your comfort zone, right? And this book is an example of reading something that you don't usually read and giving yourself the grace to feel your feelings as you go along, right? To slowly read through it, to be uncomfortable and just have all of these feelings. I didn't even do my intro correctly. This book got me so flustered. Welcome back to Shelby in the Book Club. Again, I am Shelby Monet, and in today's video, we are going to talk about Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan and why it had me up all night snotting and crying and telling my mama that lady hurt my feelings. So if you would like to hear my thoughts on this book, probably with some spoilers, probably just a little bit, then here you go. Before we get started, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, because it's fun over here, and we almost to 2,000 subscribers, so let's do that. But if you're ready for real this time, here we go. Okay, before we get started, let's talk about reading outside of your comfort zone. So y'all know my big thing is reading diversely, right? And why do I say that? Because I feel like fiction doesn't get the credit that it needs in terms of teaching us things, right? I think people look to fiction for escapism. They look to fiction for fantasy, for, just to give you some otherworldliness and all of that. When in all actuality, I feel like a lot of fiction reflects reality, right? And sometimes you need a different perspective in order to teach you certain things, right? I think we forget that although fiction is supposed to be imaginative and not real, it is based off of real life events, right? It's based off of people that these authors actually know. I think we don't give authors credit enough for being able to take their reality and to flip it in a way that is tangible for a lot of different people to obtain, right? I say all of this because Before I Let Go is the perfect example of that. The writing in this book is phenomenal. I am not a romance girl. I am not. It is not my jam. And that probably says a lot about me and how I receive love or the lack thereof. Anyway, the last romance that I read and absolutely loved were both by not Kennedy Ryan. They were both by Tia Williams, right? It was Tia with the 7 Days in June. Y'all know I rave about that book from the Rooted to the Tutor. And her other book, Tia Williams' other book, why can't I think of the name of it right now? I'll post a picture of it on the screen because that was really good too. I listened to that one and I absolutely loved it. And the reason that I loved Tia Williams' romances because they felt realistic to me. They weren't like super cheesy and like mushy and all like, excuse me, oh, I met this man down to the coffee shop and now we in love, right? Which made me realize that I like second chance romance, and that I want to read more second chance romance, right? But the realism aspect of it is what drew me into Tia Williams' books. And it is what drew me into Before I Let Go. So I think where some bits of this were really emotional and a bit uncomfortable, because it made me at least reconsider how I've handled some people and how I've done some things. It still was just so good. It was so good. So Before I Let Go is about a divorced couple, Yasmin and Josiah. And their situation is a little unique because they are divorced, but they still run a business together and they have 2 children together. So throughout this book, they are facing a lot of different issues that aren't easy to face as a couple, like as a good couple, or a happy couple, I should say, but are made even worse now that they are divorced and co-parenting and trying to navigate life in this new way, right? So from Yasmin's perspective, she is finding herself again, right? Life is new after being really depressed from them experiencing the loss of a child, as well as a loss of a close family member. She has gone to therapy. Mama is finally like, oh, I kind of look good. And it's that relatable kind of wake up feeling that you get after a long depression, where you were kind of like on autopilot. Not kind of like, when you're on autopilot, it kind of feels like you were sleeping for months, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's bright in here, and like I want to do things and I want to be cute, right? But she's also realizing that, like, oh, I still love this man, right? Now, Josiah, on the other hand, is experiencing something similar, but from the perspective of the Black man ideology that I don't need therapy because ain't nothing wrong with me. And it could work for y'all, but it ain't nothing wrong with me. But ends up going to therapy to be an example for their son. And it changes him in ways, right? So they are trying to navigate life, trying to respect each other while still trying to navigate, oh snap, I really do have feelings for this person still. Like, they're still my person. I still care, so on and so forth. I got through that with as little bit of spoilers as I can. So I think some of the things that made me love this book, right? One, the conversation about depression and therapy. I think it is so important for there to be characters that aren't just grazing over the topic, but like diving deep and really showing the benefits of therapy, not just for the adults, but for the children too, right? I think there are so many Black men that are afraid to be vulnerable and that are afraid to talk about their feelings because they were taught that men are a certain way. Men don't cry, men don't do this, men don't do that, when that is so inaccurate. Men, particularly Black men, because those are the ones that I deal with the most, are these very beautiful creatures that have so much to offer to us. And they should be allowed to cry. They should be allowed to show their feelings. They should be allowed to be vulnerable in a place that is safe, right? But I think what I learned from the character's dynamic is we all show our feelings differently, and there is no right way, there is no wrong way. There are some people that shut down when a lot of things happen to them, right? And that could be because of things that happened to them when they were a kid, right? It could be from how they were taught to handle loss, and it's like a whole bunch of different things, whereas other people decide to just keep moving. And again, neither is right or wrong, but we can't expect our partners to do everything the same way that we do, and we can't hate them for not feeling as deeply as we do, or maybe feeling deeper than we do, right? There was a scene in the book where they're arguing, and Yasmin is just like, you never did X, Y, and Z. And he was like, how would I be able to do these things when I had to worry about all of this other stuff? Like, I gave you the grace to feel how you wanted to feel, because I understand that you were hurting, but I also had to take care of all of this other stuff too, because your life stopped, right? So you're mad at me because my life didn't stop also as well. Like, that's not fair. And I think sometimes we only understand how we feel things without considering that other people need processing time, right? Like, they need processing time. They need to feel their feelings, however that's going to look for them. Like, we can't expect that. I think it just was so eye-opening to me as somebody that feels deeply. I feel every little thing, and it does sometimes cause me to stop, for everything to go still for me. And when other people are able to keep going, I'm always like, how do you do that? How do you do that, right? Because here I am stuck with all of these feelings, and you just get to keep, like, I totally related to that. I totally understood that feeling. Something else in the book that I thought was important that I didn't see a lot of people talking about. I think I saw a lot of people talking about how, like, spicy the book is, because some of the scenes I was sending screenshots like, you see that's this right here, that's that. Wait, my mama be watching these videos. Mama, I didn't say that. A lot of people talked about, like, you know, how they felt about certain relationship dynamics in the book and stuff like that. What a lot of people did not talk about were the children in this book. Baby, as much as their daughter, I wanted to, what's this baby's name? The son's name is Kasim, and the daughter's name is, why? What can I? Deja. There we go. So, as I mentioned before, the dad has Josiah has a change of heart on therapy, because there's a part where the son's teacher says, you know, maybe he would benefit from going to therapy because of X, Y, and Z. And the dad was like, to make Kasim a little bit more comfortable, that he would go to, even though he was totally against it, right? And to me, it showed how, particularly in the Black community, we coddle, and it is so weird, because in a sense, we baby Black boys, right? That ultimately turn into these men that don't necessarily know how to communicate their feelings. And they did all of this stuff to make sure that, bless you, thank you, that Kasim went to therapy and had the tools that he needed to communicate and to know that his feelings that he were feeling were normal and all of these things. But Deja got labeled as the angry teenager. Her mama was so caught up on how, oh, she hates me so much, not realizing that she experienced the loss and the divorce and all of that also as well. And she was just expected to be okay because she's a moody teenager, and she probably, like, got her period or something, and she got all these raging hormones and whatever. And it's like, the mom was so self-centered in how her and Deja's relationship was proof that she was like this bad mom for what she went through when they never took the time to ask Deja, like, what's wrong? Or consider that maybe Deja needed therapy too. Like, if it was affecting their younger child, why wouldn't it affect their older child? And why are Black girls always just in their household and out automatically just labeled as angry? I think that triggered me so bad because I was a Deja that had experienced so much, that had my own perspective of things that were going on around me. And when I isolated myself, or when I did have an attitude, or when I didn't want to be bothered, it was always, she just some angry teenager. That's all. It was so much more than that. It was so much more than that. So I think, although this book is a romance, although it is spicy and funny in places and all of that, there is so much to learn. There is so much to be said about the writing, about the themes in these books, and about how your relationship with your partner doesn't only affect you. It affects your children. It affects maybe your other family members that may live with you or that are around you often. There are so many things. And those things aren't just like the present day traumas that y'all are experiencing together, but they are also the things that happened to you when you were a kid that you never resolved. They are the habits and things that you got from your parents that you thought were normal that may not necessarily be healthy. There are so many things that go into your present day relationships that make or break them, right? I think the last two things, there's a part in the book where Yasmin is talking to her therapist. This is one of the parts that I was like in here, like hyperventilating, okay? Needed a breathing treatment, couldn't breathe, crying, okay? Is when Yasmin is talking to her therapist, and her therapist is basically saying, like, when are you going to decide to forgive yourself? Right? Those things that you are trying to rectify, those things that you are trying to fix, they happened already. And you have to forgive that version of yourself in order for you to move on. And I was like, read me for filth, bitch. Come for me. Gather me up by the collar, friend. My God, today. But it's so honest. It's so true. When do you forgive yourself? You did all that stuff already. You did it already. It happened. And you can't take it back. But what you can do is forgive yourself, right? Because you did what you thought was best for you in the moment. And maybe it was best for you in the moment, right? But all you can do is move forward with the information that you have now. I know one of y'all out there needed that. The last thing that I loved about this book is the idea that divorce is not permanent. Endings are not permanent. You can decide to step away from something. You can decide to get a divorce. And then you also can decide, you know what, this is the person that I actually do want to be with. And I needed that break to learn myself, to live without them for a little while, to reevaluate some things, to heal, to get the help that I need to be better for them, right? Not anything can be healed if you are willing to make the changes and do the work. Anything can be healed that way. So I think that's important to see too, because there are probably so many people that have made decisions like divorce or ended relationships because they didn't know how to heal themselves in any other way. That thought like, oh, well, now I can't go back to that. And they're stuck having to love somebody from a distance because they didn't know how to say at the time, like, I just need some space to heal. Right? Or I just need the space to get, like, there's so many things that people feel like they can't say, that they feel like ending things are the only answer. But nothing is permanent, baby. Nothing is permanent. You can go back. If it's a sound decision, if you've consulted your therapist about it, and if you're not making a manic okay, don't be dumb now. But y'all get what I'm saying. Anything can be healed if you are willing to do the work and make the changes. So this book was absolutely amazing. I think you should go out and get it. I think you should be prepared to cry. There were a lot of people that were leaving comments like, oh, well, I don't feel like crying, so I'm not gonna read it. And what I have to say to you is I don't care. Read the book. You're gonna get something from it. It's gonna change your perspective on something. And if all that you get from the book is screenshotting some of these spicy scenes and sending it to who you need to send it to, then so be it. Mama, I didn't say that. Without further ado, if no one has told you today, I love you. I truly do hope that you read before I let go. If you guys have any second chance romance recommendations, please leave them in the comments because I would like to read them. And yeah, that's it. Again, if no one told you today, I love you. You are kind, you are smart, you are important. Bye, friends.